Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers Transfer Agenda Show. I'm your host, Keith Plunker, and we have an action-packed show lined up tonight. I'm joined by Gav. Gav, how are you?
Great form, Keith. Great form. I think we fixed Grizz, which is a highlight of my life, and we'll go on a CV very, very soon.
We'll see. Famous last words. But
yeah,
we'll see.
yeah.
Grizz, give us a sound check there. Testing.
Yeah, testing. I mean, I don't know why
it's beautiful.
I don't know why Gav's taking all the credit. I mean, I did spend all day and afternoon sorting this out myself. I am now very savvy. I bought myself a proper expensive. Hold on, I've got to read this out because customers need to know. Customers? I think I'm still at the shop. The viewers and listeners need to know what I'm on. I'm on a Logitech HD 1080p. Terry, tell them about that. Real good. Ones know.
It's good. It's good quality.
Thank you very much.
Wait, you see when it goes on fire in about 5 minutes, though, it'll be the crack.
People calling me tight asses.
Well,
did you buy it like second hand, like repackaged one off eBay, like an old one?
You found it.
Brand new, brand fucking spankers, mate. I've still got the receipts.
Cash converters? Was it cash converters? $4.99.
No, mate. Proper job, mate. Fucking hell, people think I'm FSG out here.
There you go. Okay. And we're obviously delighted to be joined by Mr. Terry Flowers from the Football Terrace. Terry, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. I'm a lot more relaxed now after pretty much completing the signing of Donny van der Beek. So, yeah, happy days. You'll improve Man United hugely, and we're coming for your title, boys. It's as simple as that.
Very nice, very confident. I like that misplaced optimism, but who are we to argue? But no, tonight we will be touching on Man U's business and what we think and what Terry thinks they're going to do going forward. We've a few transfers that seem to be starting to move now that we're going to talk about, and maybe some dominoes starting to fall that could have an impact on Liverpool business both in and out. I want to start off with a small one where it has got Liverpool connotations, and that is Shane Duffy's loan move to Celtic. Now, on the face of that, it's not very exciting, even from an Irish point of view. You know, it's hard to get too excited about this one, Gav. But the ramifications are that it may make Christopher Ajar a bit more dispensable for Celtic. Do you think that's one to keep an eye on for the Liverpool fans' point of view?
Yeah, I think it might be. You know, the other kind of part of this is the Ben White situation. Of course, he signed a new deal at Brighton, and Celtic have got a decent signing. I think it's a loan with an obligation to buy, isn't it? Rising to $6.5 million, which is big enough money for Celtic. So when you look at that money, you probably think the way Celtic usually go on about their business, that they will look to get someone out the door. Ajar or whatever way you pronounce it, is going around at around £5 million, which is cheap to me. I'm being honest with you. He's one I touted a couple of months ago. That could be. I think I kind of pushed him towards Leicester when we were trying to think what Leicester might do in the summer. But if I'd have no issues with him coming in. And being a centre half at Liverpool, the age he's at, the profile he has, the attributes he has. People have said, did you watch him in Europe last week? He was awful. Celtic were awful. And you know, it's hard to pin it on one player. But I've seen a little bit of this player, and every time I've seen him, I'm always impressed with his. I'm always impressed with the determination he plays with. Positional sense is good. He's decent in the air. He's very good on the ground for such a tall guy. He just marauds forward when he feels like it. So it will be one to watch. Celtic have got a decent signing there, and I reckon the way Celtic usually do their business is it's one at that money, one in and one out. So I definitely think that's one to watch. Maybe for Liverpool and maybe for other clubs, but if people are targeting a Celtic centre back, I think Ayer, as we call him, is probably the one that they will be watching.
Indeed. Grizz, what do you make of the Shane Duffy news? I'd say I had you on the edge of the seat all day, did it?
Well, it kind of did. I'll tell you why. Because it kind of has a double effect for us. You've mentioned the AR effect, or however you pronounce his name. Simon. Is it Simon?
Christopher.
Yeah, same thing. Christopher.
Close.
Close, yeah.
Yeah.
Christopher Ayer, and it also means Ben White, who's today signed a 4-year contract at Brighton, gets more time at Brighton. It kind of rules out Ben White, but it opens the door for someone like Simon Ayer to possibly come in as our fourth choice. I mean, obviously,
just got to call him Simon now for the crack.
Hadn't you? Yeah, you've committed to that.
What's that? What was it?
You said Simon.
It's Christopher. We've told you twice now.
Yeah, I know. But, old habits die hard, so I'm going to stick with Simon.
Okay,
put that down to the new camera, Grizz. Put that down to the Logitech.
So I mean, it possibly opens up the door for Ayer to Liverpool. I mean, obviously, Ayer would be a fourth choice centre back as opposed to Ben White would have been challenging, in my opinion, and a few other people's that I've watched him play quite often would be battling Matip and Gomez for a place. So, so interesting news with the Shane Duffy. Who would have thought, a Shane Duffy move to Celtic? So much interest for Liverpool fans. What's going on here?
Indeed. Yeah. And Terry, I'm sure you have no interest in this Simon, as we're going to call him, Simon Ayer moving to Liverpool. But something that the lads have touched on is the Ben White links that were there with Liverpool. Is Ben White a player that's come across the United radar at all? Is he someone that has been linked with you guys? Because we've had some very strong views on him on this show, certainly from Shawnee, who's not on tonight, that every top six club should be really looking at this lad. Have you had any look at him there at United, or has he been linked at all?
Strangely, out of all 77,000 players that have been linked with us this summer, he isn't one of them that I'm au fait with in terms of that. And I've heard of him. Do I know? I've never claimed to know about players that I don't know about and try and blag it. So I'm not too. I've read some articles. I've read some sort of snippets that he's a talented young man. It's hard to tell, but Brighton's a pretty good team to stay at. Though they've got a good philosophy. They've got the way they play from the academy right through to the first team. They want to play football the right way. It's probably sensible for him to get another couple of seasons there before making a move anywhere else. How likely is he to play at Liverpool? Unlikely with the current state of your team. So I think stay where he is for now would be my advice to the young man.
Going back to Ben White, Gav, I know, as we said, we've spoke to him an awful lot. There's a strong feeling that he would be the Virgil's partner at Liverpool if he was to come in. What do you think of that?
Shawnee of this parish is a huge fan of Ben White. I know Dylan O'Rourke in the chat, who's a regular in the chat, says he has a 40% win rate in the air, which I'm willing to overlook because I just am. I watched the YouTube video and I thought he was great, and I think that's enough in today's game for me. But look, he's very highly rated. Leeds were mad for him. Brighton stood their ground with Leeds, because although Leeds are coming up from the Championship for the first time in 16 years, I think, they're a bigger club than Brighton. They'll always be a bigger club than Brighton. They'll have bigger crowds than Brighton. It's more of an attraction to a lot of players, but they stood their ground. They said they weren't going to sell to Leeds. I thought that was going to be a trigger for, we're not going to sell to Leeds, but if a Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, whoever comes in, we are willing to listen to offers for a few more quid. But it didn't. He signed a 4-year deal. I'd be interested to see if he has a release clause, or not even a release clause, but an agreement in there that if a certain amount is touched on, he's allowed talk, or he has to go, or something like that. But he's a very, very good young player. If he came in, would he have been Van Dijk's partner? No, I don't think so. But I think he would have, with his fitness record, I think it would have given him a slight advantage over Joe Matip. Even though Matip's probably he is a more accomplished defender at this stage. But you look, the reason we're talking centre halves all the time is because Joe Gomez has suffered injuries over the last couple of seasons that's kept him out. Bar last season, I think he was kind of just waiting around for his chance. Matip is, as I said before, he looks at somebody and gets a creak in his neck and he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. So, Ben White would have come in, I think would have been a great challenge for those two, to be Virgil van Dijk's partner, but it would have been a signing for the future, but not to be at the moment. But I think it's another one that not only Liverpool, I think other clubs will look at in the future.
Yeah, I think it's a massive deal that Brighton got him on a new 4-year contract, because Ben White's the type of player that his value won't drop. It's fairly obvious. So Brighton can demand that fee comfortably now, as opposed to if they didn't sign him and he had 1 year left, then all the big clubs would have been around him next season saying, look, 1 year left, here's 20, 30 quid, million quid. as cheap as my camera.
I think with him as well, though, it might be, depending on how much money they're demanding, it might be worthwhile watching him in the Premier League for a season as well, because there is that big step from Championship level. And, my club have made that mistake. When Chris Smalling and Phil Jones signed for Man United, they were tipped to go on and be absolute superstars, especially Phil Jones. It doesn't always work out that way. So it may be in everybody's best interest, give him that year at Brighton, give him that season there, and sort of see how he progresses and moves on.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead, Grizz, sorry.
No, sorry. I was going to say, yeah, absolutely. From Ben White's point of view as well, it gives him another year of experience. As Terry says, it's a total different ballgame from playing in the Premier League, where Leeds were the possession team, as opposed to when they come into the Premier League, they won't have as much possession. Ben White is very, very much a ball-playing centre-half, but his defensive qualities, or the level of his defensive qualities, will definitely be tested in the Premier League. So it makes sense all round kind of thing.
Yeah, true. Kieran B in the chat says he remembers Phil Jones, just as Terry mentioned him having big expectations. He was certainly one. I know when he went to Man U that Liverpool were very strongly linked with as well. And others. Got pipped. Yeah, and others. But I remember being gutted when we missed out on Phil Jones. I genuinely thought he had it all to go to the top. But it's all right. We got over.
Yeah, but when people start doing slow-mo videos of Phil Jones and the way he could do stuff with his face during games, I think it was the end for him. He must be on a transfer list at United somewhere, looking to get rid of him now. But you're right. I think it was 18 million United paid for him, wasn't it, from Blackburn? And he was highly rated. It was Liverpool were in from. There was another couple of clubs as well, but I think Liverpool were heavily linked along with United. And United got the deal done. Thanks be to fuck.
But it's amazing how a young centre-half can, especially a centre-half goalkeepers as well, it's a tough, to break into a top team, it is very hard when you're that young, and you do nearly want them to nearly make their mistake somewhere else, don't you? As you said about Ben White, it'd be good to have him playing in the Premier League with Brighton.
I think so. I mean, just look at John Stones. Yeah. I mean, again, everybody wanted him 4 years ago. He was going to be this superb player, and he's good. I think he's become a better centre-back than Phil Jones ever was, but it's just so hard to tell when they're young, and you guys have got Van Dijk, you've got Joe Gomez. For me is miles ahead of him, and I know you want backup and it's about having a thick squad, but I don't even know, generally speaking, if barring injury, if he even gets in your team for a while, because other than look at English centre-backs as an example, other than Maguire and Joe Gomez, there's no one better, and so he's not going to get in the Liverpool team because of that reason, in my opinion. But yeah, it'd be an interesting one to see what he does after another year, maybe getting a year of Premier League. This time next year, you might want to laugh at that link. Be like, nah, don't. We've seen him get absolutely skinned, and you think, well, what? It saves some money. What about the young lad? Is that ginger kid not ready? Is it Berg?
Oh no, Van der Berg. According to this show, is 2 years away from being 2 years away from being ready. So he's 4 years away from being ready. He's played a couple of games. He looks like a 17-year-old playing professional football, centre half, being honest. But you never know, But I don't think he's highly rated in these parts at the moment. That's being honest with you.
Fair enough.
But it's a good point, because he played a fair few games in the Eredivisie and was in the first team. But then he came to us and he just looked like a fish out of water. And that's a 17-year-old kid going in as centre-back. And too many people, Grizz, has sort of wrote the chap off because of a bad performance or two, And it could be proved right. But it does go to the physicality is such a big difference, isn't it, in the Premier League?
Look, fair enough. Now that Terry's mentioned him, because I don't like mentioning him, as you guys know, right? But now Terry's asked me about him. I could have egg on my face in 2-3 years when he's the new Yap Stam, right? I could have. But, there's more chance of my internet letting me down. That's how certain I am, because now my internet's locked, my camera's locked. That fella won't play a first-team Premier League game for us. I'll say that on camera live. The other kid, Terry, I don't know if you know, and I don't know if you're on a spying mission like some listeners, some viewers think that you're on a spying mission.
Spying? Right? He could have just said no to this show and watched it on YouTube.
Everyone thinks he's on a spying mission, right? But I tell you what, we've got a kid called Billy. Second name, Keith.
Comito.
The kid.
Yeah, we call him Billy the Kid. 17-year-old, 6'5". He's the real deal. He's the one we need to look out for. Well, actually, you need to look out for. But we'll touch on that on another day.
You've got a really good team. I remember when you, man, was saying that about Martin Kelly, bro. So I'll just bide my time on that one. I'm cool.
Not me.
No, in fairness, this kid does look good, but as we said again, he's 17, but physically he looks a lot more advanced even than the likes of Van den Berg. So it'll be one to watch this space on. He's got a bit of action on a couple of preseason games. So and he was in the squad for Sunday or for Saturday as well. So
yeah,
definitely it could actually impact Liverpool's plans to recruit a centre-back in the summer, which is what I want to go on to now, is the other centre-backs linked. Again, Terry, you might not be too familiar with some of these links, but Grizz and Gav and the listeners will know they're the same names over and over again. And we've got Ozan Kabak and from Schalke and Evan Ndicka from Frankfurt. Liverpool seem to be targeting that sort of price range of between 10 and 15 million for a centre-back. That it will be young and will be a backup player. But lads, I'll go to Gav. Do you think the presence now with Comedio might change the thinking about that? Like, do you think they might go with what they have with Fabinho slotting in as like Fernandinho's disaster class at Man City, or is that too much of a risk to do at this stage?
Listen, Fabinho went in there probably most notably against Bayern Munich in the Champions League at Anfield when Virgil van Dijk was suspended and had a great game. But that should be last resort stuff. And you're seeing, Fabinho is a fantastic footballer, aging, okay, but he's a fantastic footballer. He got exposed so much, and he got exposed because the people beside him weren't up to it as well. You don't want your main defensive midfielder having to go back into centre half. You just don't, because you see what happened with City is a brilliant example, because it didn't do the defence any good, and it certainly didn't do the midfield any good, because they couldn't be the midfield couldn't protect a vulnerable defence. And I'm not saying Fabinho go in there and be a disaster, but look, if you want to go and win things, you don't mess around with central midfielders at centre half for what could be a considerable amount of time. If a Gomez and a Matip, which is not unheard of, to go down with injuries at the same time. So for me, it wouldn't be something I would go for. I'd leave Fabinho where he is. Like Terry's on the show. Like, Terry's never gonna want Nemanja Matic playing a centre half for Manchester United on a regular basis. Because they haven't got cover.
Carrick played there for a few games, didn't he? A few years ago. Something similar.
Yeah, but you don't want it. Let's be honest. With regards to the centre back, there's a couple of journalists coming out now saying they expect 2, maybe 3 signings on top of Simicast that's already come in, and I think that's what Liverpool fans are looking for, 2 to 3. I think Thiago is definitely one which we'll get on to later. And then you have a forward player and you have a defensive player. It depends what range they're going to go here, Keith. And I agree with you. I think it's going to be somewhere between 15 to 20 million tops. I think that's where your centre half will sit, and they will bring them in, and it will be a case of we've 4 there, we've 1 that's a definite, we've the second one that's nearly a definite, and the other 2 scrap away. Kamak has been linked. Who was the other player you mentioned?
Ndicka.
Ndicka, yeah. They were both mentioned a couple of weeks ago. It's gone a bit quiet, but I think it's a thing at Liverpool now, because we do these shows every Tuesday and Thursday. We done a show on Sunday. The lads were on last night, and even since last Thursday, where you were getting snippets here and there, it's gone very quiet from all angles with regards to Liverpool. And I think people are starting to worry now that we'll never spend the money again. It's all quiet. Whereas when you look at journalists and what they're starting to say, I think they're kind of reassuring words from journalists that you would trust, where they said we're expecting 2, maybe 3, and Liverpool are just keeping it very, very quiet. And that's what they've always done over the last couple of years. But with a centre half, I think 15 to 20 million. What player that is, your guess is as good as mine at this stage.
Yeah. Just for a bit of clarification, Gav, you're getting lashed out in the chat there for claiming that Fabinho's an aging player.
No, I didn't. I said
it was Fernandinho. You said Fabinho, but you meant Fernandinho.
Oh, sorry. So no, I meant
saying that Fabinho's only like.
Yeah, it's okay, Gav. It's okay.
Absolute outbursts in the chat. That's fucking disgraceful.
Clear your name, that we know who you meant, but
now I know how Deirdre Rashid felt when she was falsely fucking accused of murder.
The Weatherfield one. But yeah, it's the journalists getting linked coming out now, and the tone seems to be changing about Liverpool. people thinking the radio silence means Liverpool don't have money and won't be signing anyone, whereas we've said consistently that we reckon, not that we know, but that we reckon that there was a change, there was a shift a few years ago, and Liverpool just aren't leaking as much information, and the local journalists aren't getting the news too far ahead of time. But that narrative now is slightly changing over the last week or few days. Grizz, I'm going to come to you. What have you made of this? Some of the big local journalists are changing the tone on the likes of Thiago and some of the other transfer business. How have you found it?
It's I found it funny. I don't know if I should say that about reputable journalists, but I'm going to be honest. I have found it slightly amusing how the narrative's changed in the last, would we say, about 10 days, 2 to 2 weeks. We start off with Mr. Mark Ogden, I think, started off in the summer by saying, I think he's a Man United fan, right, Terry?
He covers the United correspondent, yeah.
Yeah, so he started off by saying Liverpool have no money, there is no incomings planned for this summer. And then, I think Melissa already came out with something similar, saying we expect a quiet summer, etc., etc. It's funny because even today, James Pearce came out with in reference to Thiago, and he clearly said the words uttered out of his mouth were, of course, Liverpool are interested in Thiago, which is something completely different from some of his colleagues were saying only 10 days ago. So they've realized there's no smoke without fire, and all the regular listeners of our show know that where we're at in terms of Thiago, in terms of signings in general. We've stuck to our guns and said I definitely expect a minimum of 2 more signings, and possibly the third one, depending on what kind of sales we can do. I think that is the case now, and I think that's what everyone sort of needs to. What fan bases are like, and especially ours, and I'm probably Terry's is the same with United's. They need reassurances all the time. The insecurity of say again, sorry.
Needy.
Yeah, needy. The need for a daily update. It's mad. It's I've had a few run-ins with people on Twitter, but I'm calm. I'm over it now. I'm not gonna, Keith's strategy in the morning, explain to me how we should just get off Twitter for a little while or something, and I may give it a miss for a couple of hours. I don't know if I can do more than that, but a couple of hours. Yeah, a couple of hours. But look, the situation is the same as we said. We haven't sort of changed our stories or changed our thinking, whatever. We've said Thiago is to come in, and then we'll get sort of a couple more players. It may drag on into the window, we said, and look, lo and behold, it seems to be dragging on to the window. But listen, if our lads don't know what they're doing, no one's recruitment team knows what they're doing.
Yeah, it's very true. Terry, Grizz touched on something there about the media, fans, and going a bit hyperactive for signings. From the Man U side, I'm assuming it is all the same from your end. But when it comes to the media, are you getting the leaks from the media? Because I know your man Neil Ashton has got involved with yourself, hasn't he? And there seems to be a lot of stories that come out, a lot of friendly media stories that get leaked. Is that something that's happening, or is that something maybe I'm reading too much into from afar?
No doubt. There is you often see that there's like a clique of United journalists that are credible. So you kind of get the Simon Peach, Simon Stone connections. There's a couple of others whose names elude me right now. They always seem to play every single link down. So example would be Saturday night. In fact, the first person that broke the Van der Beek news was this. I say peculiar because I'm so intrigued, but for the first time ever by this In the Know account, one that I've been accused of being the architect of, which is ironic because I'm so narcissistic. You really think I wouldn't take the plaudits for getting transfer predictions right? I'd be lapping that up all day long. I really would. He tweeted it first, and I remember everyone going, "Oh, the guy's chatting nonsense." Like 40 minutes later, some dude I've never heard of from Holland, who supposedly very close with Mark Overmars, says that the deal's done. You then get sort of Fabrizio saying there's a big chance the deal could happen. And then you had all of these United link journalists, Simon Peaches, Simon Stones, kind of playing it down, saying it's not out of the realm of possibility, but we're not too sure yet. And that's what they always do. They always played any story that they play down and say they think's over, think's dead, they don't think it's real. that makes us as Man United fans think something could be going on here. It's almost like they're briefed to all say the same thing. And they all end up, it's not very well orchestrated because they all end up tweeting within about 30 seconds of each other. So it's like they've been sending group texts. It's not done very well. Someone who's from the East End of London knows what it's like to be a bit cloak and dagger. It's like, at least finesse it a little bit better than that.
Same, mate. Same.
Exactly, Grizz. You know what I'm saying? But so there's an element of that. And then you get the contrast from the European journalists, so the likes of Christian Falk and Jan Fjortoff, and these, obviously getting their information from the counterparts to this. And it's often about reading what one half is saying the other, and then probably realizing the truth is somewhere nearer the middle in many ways. But like yourselves, the Van der Beek deal came out of nowhere. There was there'd been links with him all summer, but they were just the occasional story here and there. And then suddenly, bang, Man United were in for him within 24 hours or so. He'd done a medical. He was going to be a Manchester United player. And that's how a lot of these things, I think, are going on. And, of course, the Thiago deal you mentioned, he's been protruding now with Liverpool for 7 or 8 weeks. And that's because you're trying to get the price down. And Bayern Munich want to get the 30 million euros. You've now got the links of Man United looking at him. There are moments where I think, of course, I'm going to banter Liverpool fans about it because it would be brilliant to take him from you now because we all know how great a player he is. However, I'm still 95% certain he's going to be a Liverpool player, even if Man United do kind of try and stick their nose into the deal, because I think he wants Liverpool. I don't necessarily think he wants to come to a team that's going to be 2 or 3 years of building still. But I understand that fans just want the deal done quickly. They want them done. Yeah, they want them over the line early. What's interesting, I was doing some research on transfers the other day in terms of how long it takes teams to get their first deals done. And it's like, I would say Thiago would be your marquee signing this summer. On average, it takes Liverpool, this is in the last 7 years, 52 days into the transfer window to get their marquee signing done. So we're only about 37, 38 days into it now anyway. I just feel that because of the way this preseason is, because of the COVID situation, everybody wants it rushed through, but deals take as long as they take. And I think that Liverpool fans, the same as United, just need to remain relaxed. Even if Liverpool don't sign anybody, you've still got the best team in England. And I think there's a hell of a lot of panic at the moment. But I think a lot of that happens because we've seen Chelsea buy about 800 players and some very good ones in that. United now look like they're moving. Arsenal signed a few. And I think there's just that underlying fear in some supporters that what if we get caught? What if we don't have a great start? What if we do get a couple of injuries and we can't cope with it? So it all makes for good banter for us as rivals. But I don't think Liverpool fans have got anything to worry about at all.
It's sorry, it's just interesting what you say there with regards to the journalists, and you have what you consider it the local patches, they would call them, that would be all on the same page, and like you said, they're tweeting within every one person tweets and texts the next fella, okay, it's your go, and they do that until they get to the end of the list. With Liverpool, it was like that, but now it's gone to absolute silence. And what happens is you have 3 or 4 that you would consider close to the club, and they say nothing anymore. They don't even come out and deny or confirm anything. They say nothing. And when they do say something, it's very rare. And when they do, they say stuff like, oh, I think he might be a player that Liverpool are interested. Throw a butt in there and leave it at that. And you usually know when a transfer is close with Liverpool, when one of 3 or 4 come out and nail their colours to a mast. Then you know, because they've been told, go ahead, you can walk away in it, because there's no doubt with regards to Liverpool, they are extremely private over their transfers, how they do their transfer business.
Grizz
Not
must
me.
be eating into Gav's
Not me.
broadband.
I'm here, mate. I'm here, not me.
Oh, he's back.
No,
Hold
but-
on, Gav, we lost you there.
Sorry. But as a result of what happened with Van Dijk, you have a case of it's so quiet, and I nearly get the feeling that they're under instruction now, and strict instruction as to what they say and what they don't say with regards to transfers with Liverpool.
And I think that's what you get with these credible journalists, but high up the ladder journalists is, and this is what Liverpool say to them, it'll be very basic. We will give you exclusive interviews. We'll give you, over the course of the season, you'll get certain interviews and certain stories before anybody else, but you become our non-official PR team. That's all it comes down to. Like every time, that's why you guys signed Minamino, the big Liverpool press. What made that signing even more precious was Reddy coming out with, oh, he rejected Man United for you. It's like, yeah, of course he did. But it makes the romance of it. And we're the same. You know, I want the Thiago deal probably even more because you guys have been linked with it. And the irony in it is you guys might not make an official bid. Let's just say you don't bid for whatever reason. And then Man United sign him. It's not a rejection. But our media will spin it that it's a rejection because you were in it so involved. And there's so many different stories. You know, you've got the German press pushing the Dortmund Sancho deal is in terms of we won't budge and Dortmund won't be held to ransom. They'll get exactly what they want. The Man United press will be saying, we've not even made a bid and we're not even that interested in him. So they're both selling a completely different version. It's a bit like history, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? The Russians think they won World War II. The Brits think they won it. The Americans think they won it. But actually, it's more of a joint effort, really, where we all came together. But, I think it happens.
I think the frustration with the Thiago situation and in reference to Liverpool fans, the frustration lies with the news emanating from foreign journalists. You see, Liverpool haven't said anything, either yes or no, or we're interested. See, there's nothing come out of Liverpool or the Liverpool journalists. They literally just, the early pieces or the early sort of articles they've done were generally, and I think Gavin Keith will back me up on this, was just basically just their opinion in terms of Thiago, doesn't fit the profile of Liverpool, and they left it at that. Slowly, the narrative changed because they realized that the sources that were coming from Germany weren't sort of blaggers, your everyday spoofers trying to get a clickbait article. They realized that these are very reputable people speaking about. So, for example, Christian Falk is probably the equivalent of a Paul Joyce of Liverpool or a Man United. Simon Stone, did you say maybe?
Simon Stone, someone of that ilk.
Some of that ilk, right?
It's just Simon. You just keep saying the word Simon and the hope it sticks.
Simon Sancho we'll be talking about in a minute.
Simon says, but you know what I mean? So they realize that there's no smoke without fire. This story is getting stronger and stronger. And it's now come to a point where I really feel for some of the lads at Echo, women and lads at Echo. They're going to have some egg on their faces because they've been sort of, even up to about 7 days ago, absolute no interest in Thiago. We don't understand where this noise is coming from. Well, we're about to find out where this noise came from in the next 10 days. But I mean, look, it is what it is. We've been very secure. We used to have so many leaks in the Liverpool camp in terms of transfers and rumours and everything. And it is, you know, I'm telling you, if I don't get info, no one gets info now. So, and I'm telling you, I got info on the Thiago deal. After that, it's gone totally quiet. It's a very secure ship at Liverpool. And that's the way it should be.
One of the rumours I've heard about Liverpool is that the reason you're sort of bulking at the 30 million euros is because theoretically you've got Genie that will play out the remainder of his season. And then in January, you can offer Thiago a deal for free, essentially. And I understand that train of thought if you're trying to hold back from spending money. I think Liverpool, I've said it all along, like Liverpool got money to spend, in my opinion. You're too rich and wealthy not to. However, I think you're taking a calculated gamble if you don't spend, in the sense of we don't know whether this season is going to be interrupted in the same way last season was. It's interrupted or it's damaged even more financially. The teams that spend big, like the Chelseas and potentially Man United, they could find themselves in trouble for 2 or 3 years after this period, where Liverpool might come out the other end of this, still champions, and say, we didn't spend any money. We've got all that money in reserve. Now the world has gone back to normal and we can fire forward. The problem is fans in this. The problem you have is fans in this. No fan will care about you not signing a player if you go on and win the league. But it's if you miss out by 1 or 2 points, you know you're going to have that percentage that will just, but we should have got Werner.
Well, that's the thing that they hold on to.
Yeah.
They hold on to that.
It's crazy. Every season there's an element of a gamble. The players that you buy, you know, signing Van Dijk when you did and Ellison when you did, there was always a slight gamble because there's no guarantees that a player is gonna catch in. But from your boy's opinion, would you prefer to take the risk of a Man United sort of swimming in his slipstream and taking Thiago this summer, waiting to get him for free, or would you just prefer FSG to sanction the bid, give Klopp what he wants, pay the 30 million euros, and for me have one of the best midfielders in the world in Thiago?
I think.
Well, I'll take this one just for
go on.
Gav, before you jump in. I don't agree with waiting to get him on a free, because I don't think we spoke about this before on the show. You don't really save that much money, because what you might save, you're going to be handing out on signing on bonuses, and the wages will be even higher on a Bosman. So the overall package, I don't think they'll save that much. I just think they might be holding off to try and get the price down. You know, it's like a game of chicken nearly. It's the later it gets. If Bayern want 30 million and we want to pay 20, you'd say meet in the middle and go at 25. But I reckon we're trying to get it close at the 23, and I think we will eventually just pay the money. I don't think it's realistic that we'll wait and try and get him on a free. I think that's just people saying this could happen, you know. So
I disagree. I disagree. I think what's going on here is, I don't think the finance is an issue at all. I'm being honest. 30 million euros is no way an issue. I said this a couple of weeks ago. Liverpool can go and sign a centre back, Thiago, and a striker of some, or a forward of some sort, and lay out 100 million quid, or commit to 100 million, because it's never 100 million up front. And they could possibly sell 3 to 4 players in around, you probably 5 players, and you're probably looking around 60 million coming out of the summer, with committing to spending 100 and committing to getting in 60. 40 million quid is fuck all to Liverpool Football Club. And that's without, and I'm not having the COVID and the furlough and all this messing. I understand that COVID isn't gone yet, and you may be worried about another fucking complete lockdown, and all of a sudden football completely stops again, and then you're really stuck, and everyone's really stuck. But all it'll lead to was another relaxing of FFP. Instead of relaxing for 1 year, they relax it for 2 or 3. Yeah. And then Chelsea, who are just spending as much as they fucking want, and it's their right, if they have that money, that's fine, but they're spending as much as they want because they know they won't get touched for this. This is their big shot now, and then when everything comes into line in 12 months time, they'll have to reassess, and they will have to reassess regardless. But with regards to Thiago, I think what's happening here is, I don't think the finance is a problem. I don't think the agreement with the player is a problem. I think Bayern and Liverpool are, Bayern may be looking to bring someone in as a replacement. I don't know if they have, but they may be looking to do something and saying to Liverpool, don't do anything yet. Don't let people know that we have this money. Because regardless of how rich a club are, they're very intelligent with their money. And it's like, you know, nobody goes out and tries to spend more money than they need to. That's the first thing. The second thing is, and Shawnee's mentioned it a couple of times, the quota of players in Liverpool's squad at the moment is on a knife edge with regards to homegrown and foreign players. And Liverpool are looking to get, and it's quite well known, Liverpool are looking to get rid of 2 or 3 players, and they don't want their value dropping by revealing that they've bought Thiago, and all of a sudden, oh well, you've bought Thiago, well, the player that he's replacing is still sitting in your squad, and now instead of giving 20, we're giving 15. That's, for me, is what's happening. I don't think United's links are real. I don't think the Paris Saint-Germain links are real. The Man City links are real. Any link is real. I think this is a deal that's just sitting on the sideboard waiting to happen when both clubs get their house in order with regards to other things. That's how I feel on it.
Just want to give my threepence and add to that, and I totally agree with the second part of Gav's outburst.
Was that an outburst? I apologise.
Yeah, in my eardrums are fucking hurting. But it must be this new microphone camera. I think the links to Thiago from Man United were real. I think the links to Thiago from Man City were real. I think the links from PSG were real. Who doesn't want Thiago? Can anyone of our listeners?
Oh no! Hold on. There's a link. There's a difference between a link and an interest. Everyone would be interested.
Okay. The point I'm trying to make here is the interest was very real, and up until the United interest, because you always approach the agent first and see what the situation is, and I can categorically say that every agent's been told, forget about it. The PSG link was about 2 days. The Man City day, I think the Man City one lasted about 2 days. By tomorrow evening, maximum the following day, the United link will be smashed, because the agent of Thiago has told him, look, forget about it. He's on his way to think. Now, the one major factor in all of this is Jurgen Klopp, because when Jurgen, and it's for any great club, who's got a great coach, the pull of the manager is of so importance, and especially in this case, Thiago isn't leaving Bayern Munich to, with all due respect to Tuchel and Ole, he's not going to leave Bayern Munich to go and play for them. He's going, and one of the main reasons he's going to leave Bayern Munich is to play for Jurgen Klopp. And that's the pull, and that's why Liverpool are absolutely comfortable with this situation. We know exactly where we're at. told you guys the bid's in. Everything is near enough settled. It's just a matter of logistics, as we said. We need to get the quota of players down. We're just and I'll repeat myself, and it's going to be like a broken record, but we're literally a carrier sail away from announcing Thiago.
It's interesting. Listen, and I still make Liverpool favourites massively. What Gav pulled on there is interesting because I've seen a few United fans say the same thing about Jadon Sancho. That one of there's almost, whether you want to call it, an agreement between the two clubs around Dortmund don't want people to know they've got £108 million went out shopping for a replacement. Because, of course, if you get £108 million cash in for Sancho and then you want to buy, I've seen a link, for instance, to Zaha as a replacement. Crystal Palace are going to ask a lot more for Zaha if they know you've got £108 million cash sitting in your bank account. A little bit like yourselves when you ended up overpaying for Andy Carroll because of how much money you had come in for, was it the Torres sale as an example?
Torres,
yeah, it would have made more sense is buying Andy Carroll first because you say we want him as a backup striker. You present it that way. You get him for maybe £20 million and then you make the sale. So that's the great thing about this. I think all the theories that people have come out with all hold water and reign true. From immediate output in terms of the story, depending on what side your bread's buttered, will be the way you present this. Liverpool press will present it, I think, just exactly how either Grizz or Gav have put it. You know, there'll be other press that will say, oh, United came in and they forced Liverpool into paying the money that they were refusing to pay before. Everyone's going to have a slightly different aversion. It's why I love what you guys must have seen that show All or Nothing that's going on at the minute with Tottenham. When you watch it, it just shows what really goes on at football clubs. And it kind of blows apart a lot of the myths that people, hold in terms of what things go on. You hear the owners talking about and chairman, Christian Eriksen, his head's not really in the games because subconsciously he knows he's leaving. And historically, they see the amount of players that don't even give their all in training. And we as fans go, we'll just play him still. He's brilliant. Well, trust the people that are there in and around it every day. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Thiago. As I said, 95% sure he's going to Liverpool. Of course, the banter side, the rival in me is desperate for it not to happen, just so I can clip up what Grizz has just said there and make it go viral, essentially.
Absolutely.
He loved that anyway. It's more important to him than any transfer.
Before we move on, we've got nearly 1,000 people watching us live there at the moment, which is great. But we've only got 311 likes, so people smash the like button. Doesn't take long. Just hit that little thumbs up. There's about 600 and odd that haven't hit it yet, so do you as a beat, and we'll watch those numbers going up. Terry, I want to touch on. I'm want to go to Man United in a couple of minutes with you, just some of the moves and the links that you guys have. But I just want to go through some of the other links that are more Premier League that's coming out. Hector Bellerin to PSG in the last hour. Looks like PSG have approached and made a bid for him. Grizz, what do you think of that?
Do you know what? And I know Chelsea have spent the most and sort of got the name players in, right? So your Ziyech's and the Werners and Havertz, great names and everything. But I tell you what, keep an eye on Arsenal's business because they are doing some sound business, and they're doing business for the first time in a very long time. That's needed. I mean, they buy Pepe and whatever, and they waste money, and but this time around, I think it's very, very well thought out. I think they'll snap at 25 million. They'll snap their hands off at 25 million for Bellerin. You've got what's his name? Niles. Ainsley.
Niles.
Ainsley, Niles. Cedric.
Simon Niles.
Simon Ainsley, how do you?
Yeah, it'll work somewhere. But he'll slot in lovely at right back, and with that 25 million,
he's left-footed.
And who's left-footed?
Maitland Niles.
No, he's not.
He is.
He's not left-footed. He's right-footed. No, he's not. He's right-footed. So, he's right-footed. Gav trying to tell me about football.
Telling you.
He's right-footed, but the most important thing is they want Partey. Their main target of the summer is Partey. And if they get Partey, I tell you what, with the additions that they made at centre-back, which we know they're the weakest, and around the midfield area, they'll be a force to reckon with. When I mean force, I mean top four. Sort of, we know Arsenal. No, I mean it, Terry. I'm telling you, if they get Partey, this is what I'm saying. If they get Partey, and if they get, they've got the centre backs issue sorted. I tell you, they'll be there or thereabouts in terms of top 6, top 4, which is a very, very big jump for them. You got to remember they finished 45, 50 points behind Liverpool. So they're being talked of sort of in the same realm as as Leicester's and sort of not even Leicester's, Sheffield United below these teams. So I think they'll make a jump. Obviously, Chelsea have made the outstanding names wise, but I think Arsenal, if they can get this Partey deal over the line, I like what they're doing over there.
Terry, I'll let you come in on this. You seem to.
I think they're doing good business. I agree with that. I think they'll improve this season under Arteta. I've had this gut feeling for a while. A lot of people built up Arteta as being a young Pep or a young Klopp. I think he's more of a young Simeone or peak Jose Mourinho. I think he's the pragmatist of a manager. Of course, he'll batter and outplay the lesser teams than him because Chelsea's.
Nothing wrong with that, Terry, though. Nothing wrong with that, Terry.
No, there isn't. The interesting thing is, Arsenal fans, some take it as a criticism, and they don't see that I'm complimenting him. They'll beat up and outplay the lesser teams, as all of Jose's boring teams did. They'll play against the big sides, and they've seen it work. And I think that they're going to be years away, Arsenal, from pound for pound having stronger 11s, and they've been like this for over 15 years now, where they're just not as strong as the Liverpool now and Cities now, and back in the day the Chelseas and Man Utds. So that's why they lost so many of the head-to-heads in the old top 4 and the current top 6, because they just didn't have the personnel to do it. And Arteta has recognised that, and I think he realises we've got to play in a particular way. And the fact that I know that they drew the last 1-1 on penalties, but they had 2 results over Liverpool in a short space of time, and I think to myself that for me is something we didn't see. We didn't see that sternness from Arsenal for a long, long time. Will it project them back into the top 4? The only reason I think that's difficult is because they have to then suddenly become better. They have to become better than Tottenham, better than Wolves, better than Leicester, better than Man United, better than Chelsea, all in the space of one season. And I think that it might just be too many hurdles to jump. But they're definitely going to progress in relation to that. And it is really gearing up to be an interesting season. And if they can pull Thomas Partey off, I mean, a bit like the other deals. I mean, they've offered 25 million so far. I mean, he's got a 42 million pound buyout clause. I don't really get what they're messing. I know that everyone's lost money because of CV19, but 42 million for an 80, 90 million pound player, it makes no. I mean, I'm desperate I'd love United to sign Thomas Partey. Add him to our midfield, what we've already bought, and it's complete. You know, it is what it is. But it'll be interesting to see what Arsenal do. I think they'll come 6th or 5th, 5th or 6th this season. To be fair,
Gav loves Arsenal. Gav.
No, listen, I just can't stand Arsenal. And not as a club, it's just the way they go about their business and what their fans think they should be, and basing the Arsenal way on probably 2 seasons of football, 3 seasons of football. But in fairness to Arteta, he has shown them a different way to play football, and I like that about him. He hasn't come in and just gone along with, it's a bit like, it'd be a bit like coming in, he follows Wenger. He comes in after Wenger and people think, well, he doesn't. Unai Emery is there, but he comes in and he puts it up that he's going to do all sorts of stuff and doesn't. He just tries to do what Wenger does. And Arteta seems a bit different. They're making sense in what they're doing. They're identifying what they need, and he's going about it, and he's bringing in players that will be able to play in that system. They've brought in players over the years, and you go, that just doesn't suit. Will they be in the top 4? You don't know. You have to wait until all squads are complete. But I think they're a long way off Liverpool still. Despite Terry saying 2 results against Liverpool has stopped playing. When they beat them at I was going to say Highbury at the Emirates, and the Charity Shield is just the Charity Shield. But I think they're way off Liverpool. I think they're way off Manchester City. I think United are a better side and a better squad than them. But they might get a bounce off Arteta coming into the season, and he's had a little while to work with them, and he looks like he knows what he's doing. So they are one to watch. They are making clever signings. Partey, I think the problem there is Guendouzi. They were looking to get rid of Guendouzi and bring Partey in, and they were looking to raise money, and now Arteta is saying that it's a clean slate with Guendouzi because I think they've overvalued him. So we'll have to wait and see. But £42 million, if that's true on Partey, is buying money, isn't it?
Well, it's interesting. Someone had in the chat there, and I know it's sort of breaking tonight that Arsenal have bid for Hotmic, with Julian Laurens, I think, saying that Guendouzi to Leon could be part of that deal. It's an interesting one because I actually think he's a good player, Guendouzi, and I don't know if he dirtied his bib at the end of the season with the little scuffle he had at Brighton. But it's all ifs, buts, and maybes with Arsenal because they haven't signed Partey, and I think them being anyway decent relies on them bringing in a Partey because Gabriel could be a very good signing for them. He might not be. They could still have a dodgy defence. William Saliba, everyone's assuming is going to be like Raphael Varane and step right in and take to the Premier League without any problems. And you wouldn't be surprised if in 6 months you're looking at Socrates and David Luiz at the heart of their defence. You know, it'd be just typical Arsenal. So I do think they have to get these deals over the line before they can really challenge. Terry, I want to come on to Man U while we have you. We've got a lot going on at the moment. As we touched on earlier, Donny van de Beek came out of nowhere, very similar to Fabinho with ourselves. It just sort of came and it's happened. How do you think he fits in at Man U? And does the signing of a Van de Beek make these Thiago links a bit redundant, or do you think there's room for even more midfield players in Man United squad?
On Van de Beek, he's one of those players. I love seeing him sign for United because then yesterday on our stream, people were calling him the Dutch Ross Barkley, which made me laugh. He's been brilliant for the last 2 or 3 years, impressing the Champions League. He's a tremendous player, multifaceted, can play central midfield, attacking midfield. The most impressive element about him is how often he gets into the box and touches the ball. It's just it's ridiculous amounts. He averages about 50 more touches in the box a season than Lampard used to get. So he's going to be there or thereabouts, and he's going to add a brilliant new dimension. It adds competition to both Bruno Fernandes and Paul Pogba. He has the ability to keep them out the team if he plays well, which is great. On the Thiago situation, it isn't overkill because for me, you can then look at getting rid of Matic, Fred, and or McTominay. You know, 2 of those players could go after signing them because Thiago and Van der Beek are just absolute levels above in relation to that. But I think from my point of view, I still think Thiago is a very difficult one to pull off in relation to that. Van der Beek's great. Sancho deal is the one that needs to happen more than any other. We need that right side of attack sorted. And there's a lot of quiet talk going on that maybe that deal is going to happen. It's just waiting for Dortmund to find a replacement to see what happens in that kind of space.
Terry, you know what you said, Terry, just a quick one on Sancho. Why do you think that's the one that needs to happen? Do you really think, because I really think you're a very level-headed Man United fan. You're not one of these ones that just Man United eyes. Looking at your team, looking at your squad, right? Do you really think that it's the signing that you need to make because of the name around it and sort of it will show you that the pull of Man United and you can get the top players in the world, or is it a need for your team, your shape, your squad for Ole?
It's both of those things, I think. I think they're both very, very important to Manchester United Football Club because there is an element of wanting. We haven't had a proper number 7 since Cristiano Ronaldo left in 2009. We're talking 11 years. This young generation needs a number 7 they can fall in love with. It's important that romance is important in football. You know, we all know that. Everyone touches the this is Anfield sign when they come out of the changing room. If they took that sign down, it wouldn't physically change anything, but you'd lose an element of romance. If it stops you singing "You'll Never Walk Alone," it would change your club dramatically. And Man United's number 7 shirt has that sort of iconic romantic nature to it. So that element is important. Secondly, it comes to balance. We're completely unbalanced as a team because although Greenwood's done a good job playing on that right-hand side, he's a central striker and he'll move central at some point. Jadon Sancho means that we can attack with balance both down the left and both down the right and down the left and right hand side. It just makes us a completely different animal. And then you look at Jadon Sancho and the level of goals and that he scores and creates. He's just uncanny for a guy that's just turned 20 years of age. So I think overall it's important. It's a massive statement as well. And of course, we still need another centre back to go next to Harry Maguire. However, next summer you might have 3 or 4 massive teams, including yourself, Liverpool, coming in for Jadon Sancho. And the reason why most United fans want us to strike now is because we've got a free run at him. And missing out on him now could get us might end up paying even more for him next summer. If 3 or 4 clubs come in and bid, it's okay, and that would be embarrassing. Imagine saying no to 108 million next year, being forced into paying 115, 120 million the following. It just wouldn't make any sense. So I think for those 3 reasons, it's imperative that it gets done. What I've noticed again, and no one said it's dead. Although, yes, Dortmund have said it's past the deadline. Do it now.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll sell for the right price. The likes
Absolutely.
of Jan have said it. So if we bid the money or we offer them the right level of structure, and I think £80 million cash up front with sort of 20 plus million as guaranteed installments over a 2 to 3 year period gets that deal done. I'm not worried about the money. There's £245 million in cash sitting in Man United's bank accounts. Spend the damn thing, bring in Jadon Sancho, and that coupled with Van der Beek, with the rest of our squad, we've got a really good chance over the next 2 or 3 years of developing a team that could challenge for a title. There's no doubt with the age of that team, especially from the sort of the midfield going forward. The average age will be about 23 years of age. So it just has to happen as far as I'm concerned. If we miss out on Sancho.
Oh, you miss out. If you don't secure Sancho this window, bid him goodbye. There's no way you're getting him next summer. I'll guarantee that. That's another thing you can clip out if you want. Like, I'm going to piss out. But if you don't secure him if you don't secure him this window, which I think you will, again, very much like how you view the Thiago situation with Liverpool, I view the Sancho situation with Man United. You guys are firm favourites because you guys are the only ones that are desperate to put 80 million. No other club in world football was ready to do that in this day and age. But you guys need to do it. So therefore, I think you will do it. If you don't, I think it'll be one of the biggest mistakes you'll ever do because you won't get him next summer.
There's a couple of clubs that would do it. I think Paris Saint-Germain would do it. I think Manchester City would do it. But I think legitimately doing it, I think Manchester United are probably the only club that can do 80 million. Dortmund are sticking and saying they want £108 million up front, and I don't think it'll come to that. The Grizz asked a great question there. Is it for your team or is it for
you should let me host? You should let me host now again.
Come here, if we can get you on. If we can get your internet working, we will. Yeah. But for me, the Sancho deal, I've said all summer it'll happen. I've no doubt it'll happen. I think these clubs always come to some sort of arrangement, and all it'll take is a little push from the player going, listen, they're offering you enough, let it happen. But for me, the reason it has to happen now is because United will lose a lot of face if this doesn't happen. A lot. There's been lots being said about it, lots being put out in the media with regards to it. I still think it does happen. I think it'd be a fantastic signing for Manchester United. But I do agree, if United don't get that over the line by October the 6th, I don't think they have another chance at it. I really believe that. There's too many clubs that'll come looking, and too many clubs that are further down the line. And Terry's already said about progressing the side, and they're doing the right thing. They're picking players. Van der Beek is a brilliant player, by the way, a brilliant player. At 40 million quid, he obviously was brilliant for Ajax in that Champions League going back 2 seasons now, and he must have had an agreement with Ajax. Listen, I'll play one more season and then I'm gone, because it was very quiet on him. There was no links. He was just going about his business. But I think United in January or next year, I don't think they stand a chance of getting Sancho if they don't do it now.
It is interesting, yeah. I mean, it's strike now or risk not getting him next summer. And as Grizz said, with the front three that United have, I get what Terry is saying. The number 7 is iconic, but with the front three they have, maybe it's not as needed. Do you think a defender might be more needed there at Man Utd, or are you happy with the options at the back? Because you are linked with Upamecano and Badashila lately. Do you think it's something that they're gonna pursue, or do you think they stick with Lindelof and what they have?
I feel like we're sort of in a position where
Is that Terry's internet on the way now? What is it?
Yeah, I knew it was going to go.
I've read some good things and stuff like that, but that's about it. The Upamecano deal is interesting. I spoke to a journalist tonight, and he thinks that there's an outside possibility that Man United could go and get that deal done. I'm just not convinced we're going to go for a centre-back, an established centre-back that can come in and actually play from the beginning. Would I love to see it happen? Would it be great if we could sign Sancho, followed up by Upamecano, followed by with Van der Beek already being in? So we've got Sancho, Van der Beek, and Upamecano. That would be the most perfect summer for us. Those three, it would improve the spine of the team. It would improve the bench. It would give us. It'd be excellent. It'd be absolutely brilliant. I just don't want to, do you know what it is? I don't want to get too carried away. That's my problem. You don't want to get too carried away and then it all falls apart. But from my point of view, and I'm sorry, I've had some connection issues. For the first time ever, my PC decided to start going crazy.
Yes.
It might be that way. But yeah, so from my point of view,
it's Grizz tapping into your ITK account running.
I know. Yeah, there's me. All these fake accounts I run, it's crashing my computer. Yeah, I think it'd be I'd love to see a centre back come in to go next to Maguire. I think Maguire needs a bit of pace next to him, but someone that can stay fit. Upamecano would be the one. Interestingly, he's come out and spoke about moving to Man United, and again, just didn't deny it. Just sort of came out with that cliched, "I love where I am. I'm happy at the club, but who knows what the future brings." As soon as a player says that, it tells me they're up for moving, because if he isn't going to move, he doesn't want to move, you just say, "I'm staying." You just come out and you be quite forthright and say, "I don't want to leave." And he hasn't said that. So yeah, the next 2 or 3 weeks are going to be really interesting, I think.
If I was a United sort of part of the recruitment team, I'm telling you now, if I had the choice of Sancho or having Upamecano and Partey, wow, you get you know, the one, fella.
Simon.
Yeah, Simon. Right, you get him and Partey in your team in that squad, Terry. I tell you what, that would move you up at least 2 places to 4th. I'm telling you, that would be.
Bro, we're 3rd.
Yeah, at the moment, you know, this last season, you're going to regress now, isn't it? Because
do you know what I love about this? The start of the season, though, I was talking to someone the other day. Liverpool are better than Man United. I never deny that. But like, I had a Liverpool fan say, "But you're 40 points behind us." I'm like, brother, you stupid. It's a new season. We're level on points. Like, you may be better than us, but that's why I think just like I don't know how this happened last year. There's a lot of talk about how Liverpool were. Everybody feels like the season starts with the same points difference. I'm like, let's just go. Who knows what's going to happen? That's what I love about football. You know, I think Liverpool are favourites.
Yeah. I said it in tongue in cheek. Of course.
I know you did. And I know you did that. And I say things tongue in cheek. The problem is there are some football fans that see banter on fan channels. They take seriousness. And I'm like, what is weirdos, proper weird people. Like they can't deliver with a joke and a serious analysis.
If me and you were sitting next to each other, we'd bust joke like this to each other. Do you know what I mean? And that's how we sort of say it online as well. And people think, "Oh my God, there's beef between X, Y, and Z." You know, it doesn't work like that. Get real.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's no beef here. We've 1,021 people watching, 462 likes. You know what we do? We keep reminding you, lads, smash that like button, and the more the merrier. We won't say no to as many likes as possible. If you can just go and do that, that would be great. But I want to move on to get off Man United. We've given you enough time on them 30, and I want to go back to Liverpool slightly. Some of the exits from Liverpool, Gav, we'll come to you. Have you heard much on deals for Wilson or Grujic or Karius or any of the outs? Have you heard of anything happening along them lines?
Do you know what? There's been nothing on Karius. Absolutely nothing. Yeah. That's
just rip his contract up.
No, I think that's one that, you know, the last couple of days somebody takes a punt on him. You know, early October, someone takes a punt on Karius and gets him for 3 or 4 million quid. Liverpool are they look quite solid on their Harry Wilson valuation, I think, of £20 million. I know Newcastle were looking, I think it was Leeds might have had a sniff at it, but I think clubs looking at him at the moment are looking somewhere between 12 and 14 million pounds. Liverpool are saying no, 20 million pounds is the price. And you know, people are comparing transfers and going, well, Liverpool can't, you know, moan about Thiago at 30 million euros and ask for 20 million for Harry Maguire. Nathan Ake has gone to Manchester City for 41 million pounds. This guy was relegated with Bournemouth. They were atrocious, and for 41 million pounds. So if we go by people's thoughts, I was 20% off it. Are we seriously saying he's a 50 million pound defender? In all things being equal, I don't think you can. With Wilson, I think he will go. Look, Liverpool are saying 20. You're probably looking at 15 plus add-ons. That's just the way it goes. But he's not the one.
I've got some info on the Wilson situation. Sorry, Gav.
Okay.
I've got some information on the Wilson on the Wilson situation. They actually bid 13 million for Wilson. We kind of accepted it. It's just the Wilson being sort of trying to convince Wilson to actually go down to Bournemouth. I know we speculated a few weeks ago that, he'll happily do it. Apparently, the information I've received, he's reluctant at the moment to do it. So, but I know that that's the furthest in terms of our departures, that's the furthest we've gone down the line with someone. It's only a 13 million bid, and we actually did accept it, but it's not. He's very reluctant to go down to Bournemouth.
Yeah, well, 13 million. I think I would have thought 15 plus add-ons if Liverpool are sticking to the 20 million. But that's not the key one. You see, the key, because he'd be considered a homegrown player. It's the other ones. It's Karius, it's Grujic. Grujic is being linked with a couple of sides in Italy, a couple of sides in Germany, a couple of sides in the Premier League. But again, Liverpool are going to look for somewhere, I would reckon, between 15 and 20 million for Marco Grujic as well, simply because he was linked to Atletico Madrid. I think it was last summer, around 24-25 million, and Liverpool decided
40 million.
What was it?
40 million was the links, ridiculous. Yeah, and they went and signed Marcus Llorente instead.
Yeah, and then you see Grujic staying in Germany on a loan deal. So Liverpool obviously said no, we'll hold off. He's worth X amount. He could progress, but I don't think he will. I think Marco Grujic will be the biggest loser in all of this Thiago business, not Gino Wijnaldum.
It's interesting. The Hertha Berlin sporting director Michael Preetz came out and said that they're constantly watching the Grujic situation to see what sort of happens with that coming down the line, because I'd say they've got the valuation of Liverpool and they're like, no, we're not paying that, and they're interested to see if any bids come in. So I think he ends up going back to Hertha Berlin, to be honest. I think the longer it goes on, or if Liverpool just need to get one out the door, I think they'll accept 13 million or so.
Keith, there's a fella that's trying to catch my attention in the chat, and he's trying to sort of it's Anas Hussein, and he's saying Grizz said Thiago had cancelled his holidays. Was he trying to imply he cancelled holidays to complete the deal? Anas, he's gone on holidays because the deal has been agreed. As far as I've told you guys, it's been agreed, and that's why he's happily spending his time playing volleyball with his family on holiday. Relax, fella.
Have you seen the news across the road, guys? There's been a here we go from Fabrizio that Everton are doing medicals for this guy Alan, who I don't know much about, but they've also completed the deal to sign James Rodriguez.
Yeah, it's 2 medicals tomorrow or something for them. I mean, it's interesting. Everton celebrate the transfer window victory every year, and it always ends up going tits up for them. And I can see this one being much the same, like James Rodriguez, I think, is more of a name than an actual footballer these days.
You're seeing as well, like Liverpool link with lots of people, and you haven't signed them this summer. You've signed some great players in recent years. United are always linked to these players. What I always find interesting is the amount of times we're linked with someone where the kind of football hipsters are crying their eyes out if we don't get them. And then 2 or 3 years down the line, these players like James Rodriguez, he was the one that United fans threw the toys out there for. They're doing nothing. They go nowhere. They end up being absolute no marks in football, if that makes sense. And you're like, sometimes, most of these signings that your clubs, these big clubs don't sign, don't really go on to do very much at all. Like last summer, I remember United fans, we got to get João Felix. I mean, he might turn out to be great, but he hasn't ripped any trees up where he's gone as an example. I just think sometimes fans have just got to have a bit of faith in your manager. Like Klopp knows what he's doing, Like he's pretty well versed. He knows more about football in his fingertip than us four and everyone tuning in put together. And I don't mean any disrespect to anybody, but like just have a little bit more faith. I know, it's mad. It's mad. But anyway, sorry to digress.
Not at all. We call it the Jonathan Tah syndrome over here because, everyone was crying out for Jonathan Tah a few years ago and he's still 23 stone lumbering around for Liverpool.
No, the best one was Semel. Semel was linked to Liverpool for
still on a plane. He's on his way.
He was linked for Liverpool for about 5 years solid. Every single window was brilliant. It was the crack that was.
Well, do you remember William Carvalho at Sporting, the Portuguese midfielder? He was linked to everybody every summer. Everyone wanted him. And there comes a point where you sort of sit there and there's another player that's always, got that Leon Bailey everyone talks about. I get worried when these players get 22, 23, 24 and no one's come in for them. It tells me there's something wrong. It tells me legitimately there's something wrong with the player if they've got to that age and no big clubs have got anywhere.
Well, we definitely know if Everton are signing a washed-up Allen because his legs have gone now, fair enough, he's a very good player, but I think he's coming to the end of his career and he's about to be baptized to the Premier League and Everton type of football. So fair play to them. And James Rodriguez, my God, what is he? I don't think he's kicked a ball in anger or on any sort of decent level for years and years. But yeah, fair play to Everton. They may claim to win the transfer window again.
They will, no doubt about it. But I think it's all going to be about now. Dominoes are going to start to fall, as we said earlier. To see Rakitic has gone to Sevilla from Barcelona.
Apparently, De Jong is being quoted as saying that Barcelona is in chaos.
Frankie De Jong.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So
it's not like a Dutch fella to be outspoken, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whoa, look at that. Bit of turmoil at Barca. We love it.
That's it, but it's one that will, you see if space opens up at Barcelona, and look, I don't want Genie to leave Liverpool, but they could come in for a Genie. We see Bayern Munich are looking at Marcelo Brozovic at Inter Milan, which could be waiting to let Thiago move on. Like as Terry touched on earlier, sometimes clubs are waiting to get deals done before they'll pull the trigger on letting sales happen. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next few days. I think it could really start to move.
I think Gilmore TV wants Thiago.
So bad.
Yeah, Gilmore TV does want Thiago.
Fair play.
But yeah, with the Barcelona, that's a very, very good point actually, because they're actually losing not only Rakitic, Vidal, and
Suarez.
Arthur. No, I'm talking about the midfield area, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Suarez as well, yeah. So Arthur, Rakitic, and Vidal. Now that's 3 central midfielders that are leaving them. That leaves them with Busquets, who's not been in the greatest of forms. De Jong, who's making noises. Pjanic is one, yeah, but they won't sort of just rely on the 3.
And young lads, then it's all youngsters. It's
so they're definitely looking. And with United sort of securing Van den Beek, which means the Dutch connection, the noises from the Barca camp and the Koeman camp suggest that they're very much interested in Gini Wijnaldum. I mean, there has been no official approach to Liverpool, but I think again that's another one in the pipeline.
It feels like on Gini. Maybe we're writing Barcelona off too much, but it feels like it's the worst time in the last 15, 20 years to go to Barcelona. Yeah. Especially, and again, I'm not sure if it's Liverpool that don't want to re-sign him or vice versa, but I get there's the Ronald Koeman thing. I just feel, you never know. I mean, maybe getting rid of some of these. I said it when they got knocked out of the Champions League at Barcelona, that maybe Messi leaving is what they need, almost like a fresh slate. Let's start this rebuild again from the beginning type thing. It's, like, I don't know. Sometimes I think some of your star players can be a bit of a thorn in your side. Like one of the biggest things that Man United ever did was get rid of Ruud van Nistelrooy in 2006. It was like a rebirth, even though he was such a great striker, went on, did well at himself. But sometimes you just need to get rid of a player like that to kind of look at yourselves when you got rid of Coutinho. Everyone said you are mad. Worked out all right.
It's true, like, because the Van Nistelrooy is a good example, because that opened up Ronaldo nearly, because Van Nistelrooy fed off the Beckham delivery that he knew every time was coming. Ronaldo came in, and you'd see Van Nistelrooy getting frustrated when he'd make a run, but Ronaldo's checking back, and it was like, right, this isn't working out. You move on Van Nistelrooy, Ronaldo flourishes. So sometimes you have to move a big player on to open it up. But you mentioned Messi there, Terry. Do you think it happens to Man City?
Do you know what? I was speaking to the interview's coming out tomorrow, but I spoke to Jamie Jackson from The Guardian and The Observer. He's Manchester based. And I sort of said, what is the word on the street? And he said, you're not going to like this. He said, but Man City, he spoke to the club, Manchester City feel they can get a deal done. And he said this has happened 2 or 3 times since Pep's been there, but it's always been pushed back as no, it's posturing for a new deal, or we don't see a way forward. It may lead to Messi having to take Barcelona to court to get because it seems that the contract is so confusing. Yeah. That he said that he spoke to 3 or 4 different lawyers about it to get insight, and they've all just said, I'd have to read through it, but every lawyer's got a different opinion on what it means. But Man City seem to have some hope that they can sign him, and it's interesting because Jamie Jackson is, he is a writer, but he's more of a sports writer than he is a kind of transfer expert. Does that make sense? He's currently doing Ollie's biography and things like that. And yeah, he just said, the word in Manchester is that the Etihad feel that they can get the deal done, which is, it'd be mad. I want to see Messi in the Premier League. I just don't want to see him at one of my rivals. But yeah, it would be interesting to see what he could do over here.
Yeah, Gav, what do you think? Do you think Messi happens to Man City?
I don't know. I really don't. It's a bit like I said earlier with regards to Chelsea and spending whatever they want. City have lashed out 70 million so far. The rumor is it's Silva, not Silva. The other fella, what's his name? The little fucker that doesn't do Bernardo. It is Silva. Sorry, Silva, yeah. Bernardo that doesn't do the clapping of people when they've won a league. Bernardo Silva, Jesus and Garcia plus 100 million. I think Barcelona would be absolutely mad. The problem you'll have, though, is that if Frankie de Jong is coming out and telling the world that Barcelona is an absolute chaos, rumours going around now that Messi, Suarez, Piqué and Jordi Alba are having crisis meetings together over the state of Barcelona. What the fuck is Bernardo Silva, Jesus and Garcia heading to Barcelona for? It's a bit like the Mane link, how Barcelona want to replace Messi with Mane. I said it last week. Mane is going to turn up and the new camp's going to be on fire. The only thing he'd be good for is putting out a fire and a real fire, because they'll absolutely fucking annihilate that place if Messi goes there. I'm not messing with you. Like, they will absolutely turn that stadium upside down if Messi leaves. That's how he will end up. I don't know if he goes to City. He may do. If he doesn't, he ends up in full control of the football club known as Barcelona, in my opinion.
It's like a Caesar's taken over. But it's, like if Mane goes to Barcelona, let's just say they did that. I'm not saying they will say they did. You ever booked or ever seen like a holiday, a film where they show it? Like, you book the holiday, you've seen it in the brochures, your hotel looks amazing. You book the holiday, you fly, you get your transfer, you turn up at a hotel, but it's a building site. And it's just awful. The pool's empty. There's dead cats everywhere. That's where it'd be like for Mane. He's not turning up. It'd be like the apocalypse there. It's honestly, like, you got to stay away from Barca. But that makes it hard for them to get rid of players, which is why I think they're trying to get players to shut their mouths, keep themselves cool. But yeah, it's mad how that's happened to them. It's almost the last 2 or 3 years just completely unraveled. But well, I suppose being dumped out of the Champions League the way they have 3 years running has probably led to that as well. So there we go. 4 years running, I think.
Yeah. Grizz, what do you think? Messi to City, yay or nay?
Nay. I just think, as Terry alluded to, it will have to go to court. I don't know if either Barcelona or Messi would like this to be dragged out into court. So I think City will want to stay away from anything dramatic or complicated like that. But if it turns out that, look, the clause is void and he's free, and I've just changed my mind slightly, then you can see it happening. But
covered all angles there, brother.
But that's how we do, bro. That's how we do. But no, simply no. I'll give you a no for that.
Yeah, I think that could be a big power play on there as well. Just as Gav said, I think he'll be the leading general manager of Barcelona next season. He'll be picking presidents, he'll be picking everything. And I do think it all depends on the clause. I think if City can't get him for free, I don't see how they can spend the money. Even throwing in players, I think.
Yeah, people throw in players like it's FIFA manager. That kind of shit doesn't happen anymore. Players, trying to convince 3 players, right, of the level of Bernardo Silva, Jesus, and who's the other one? Garcia. All right, Garcia. All right, Garcia's a Barcelona fan, so he may want to go there. He may not now. Apparently, he's saying if Messi's leaving, I'm not going. So that's how much of a Barca fan he is. But trying to throw in, but people suggesting that, swap this players for that players. How often do we hear about players swap deals? It doesn't happen. You don't throw in 50 million plus 2 players. It's not FIFA manager. Well, these guys have to be convinced. Their agents have to agree deals, fees. It doesn't happen often, and that's fanciful thinking.
Arthur and Pjanic, but I suppose it comes down to you know, the clubs have to make it want to work and the players have to make it want to work. I mean, you're throwing in 3 players and, you know, there's so many moving parts. I suppose it becomes that bit more difficult, doesn't it? But look, I'm a big Messi fan. I don't want to see him anywhere near Man City or the Premier League. I don't care if he gets to prove it on a Wednesday night in Stoke. Couldn't give a shit. I'd want him to stay where he is and just see out his days at Barcelona. But look, we'll wait and see what happens. There's a few other things that happened we didn't get on to, but we'll save it for another day. We'll be about an hour and 20 in now, so we might just leave it there, or just want to go on, or what's the story? I think we'll.
I've got to make a move because I've got a few bits to do before bed. And I'm gonna
go.
Yeah. So,
you got all the info, yeah? You got all the info. Now you're running, yeah?
Straight on to the Football Terrace now.
Has a fella sitting off camera there writing it all down.
Yeah, just going to plagiarize everything and pass it off as my own opinion. What I do always. So there we go.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So, go ahead.
No, so thank you very much for having me on. Really appreciate it. Really, really do. Thank you.
It was a
pleasure.
Not
at all. It was a pleasure having you, Terry. It was a pleasure having you. And Grizz, it's been a milestone night. Not only have we got over the 1,000 viewers, but you've had no issues with the connection. You've been crystal clear on the camera, I think, and the audio. But you know, a great day nonetheless. I think you ate into Gav and Terry's bandwidth at some stages tonight. But
don't ever underestimate my powers, mate. You lot felt it today, yeah, Terry and Gav. I infiltrated your usually impeccable Wi-Fi, so don't ever underestimate the Grizz. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you have Akif going over.
Do you want me to do you want me to sort Grizz out now after what he's just said? Would you like me to sort him out? Because here goes, right? We're 2 subscribers short of 4,000. And at 4,000 subscribers on a show, for an entire show, if you type in your @ on Twitter and you have been blocked by Grizz, he will unblock you and you can verify it throughout the show. So, plus, Keith will also turn up with a full head of hair when we get 4,000 subscribers. So, if you're watching and you're not subscribed, please hit it, because we've passed it, 4,002. So, we won't do it on Thursday night. We give Keith a chance to go out and buy his wig. And we give Grizz a chance to charge up his phone. So Sunday night show will be all about Keith with loads of hair and Grizz unblocking everybody that asks. Thanks for the support. It's been amazing.
It certainly has. Listen, lads, thanks very much for joining us tonight. The chat's been kicking as well. We've had a lot of new faces in there. We always appreciate that, even friends or enemies, whatever, you know, once we all keep it civil, happy days. So we'll leave it there, lads. Thanks very much. We've been the LFC Daytrippers, and we'll bid you good night.